My boarding pass vanished from the app while I was standing in line. Not delayed. Not changed. Just gone. Behind me, my family laughed as if nothing had happened. The agent looked at the screen, then at me. "I'm sorry, ma'am. Your seat was reassigned." I turned just in time to see my mother step onto the plane without looking back. My father followed. My sister didn't even hesitate. She lifted her carry-on like a trophy and disappeared down the jet bridge. "Hi. My name is Claire Whitman. I'm the one who paid for this trip. I'm also the one they decided didn't deserve a seat." I stood there frozen, the airport noise crashing around me, rolling suitcases, final calls, the hollow echo of abandonment. I kept waiting for someone to turn around, to say there'd been a mistake, to wave me over. No one did. The agent lowered her voice. "It looks like the ticket was changed from another device." Another device. Not mine. I walked to an empty chair and sat down, my hands shaking as the plane door closed. That's when my phone buzzed. A message from my sister, sent casually, like she was asking me to grab milk on the way home. "You should have learned by now where you stand." I stared at the words until they blurred. Then I typed back exactly 5 words. "Relax. This new year is changing everything." I didn't cry. I didn't call. I booked a different flight and smiled at the screen that showed my new seat assignment, first class. Because while they thought they'd finally put me in my place, they had no idea what I'd just decided. And when they landed, their phones would start buzzing. Non-stop. I wasn't always invisible. I was useful. Growing up, I was the responsible one, the fixer, the backup plan, the quiet wallet. When my parents needed help, I helped. When my sister needed something, I paid. Flights, hotels, emergencies, temporary loans that were never repaid. Somewhere along the way, support turned into expectation. This New Year trip wasn't a gift. It was my idea. I booked it. I coordinated it. I covered the costs when my parents hesitated and my sister shrugged and said, "You make more than us anyway." What they didn't know, what I never corrected, was that I didn't make more. I owned more. At the airport, while they toasted champagne and economy plus like it was a victory, I sat alone in first class on the next flight, watching clouds slide past the window and replaying every moment I'd been dismissed, talked over, taken for granted. The seat reassignment wasn't impulsive. It was planned. And that meant something else had been planned too. As my plane lifted off, my phone buzzed again, this time with a bank notification. The first alert of many. By the time I landed, the pattern was impossible to ignore. It wasn't just the plane's seat. It was every holiday where I cooked while they relaxed. Every birthday where my sister's gift cost more than my rent while mine came with a receipt tucked inside, just in case. Every time I spoke and my father talked over me like I hadn't opened my mouth at all. I checked my phone in the quiet of the arrival lounge. More alerts. Automatic confirmations. Clean. Legal. Already in motion. I remembered last year's New Year's Eve, my sister leaning across the table, wine glass raised. "Claire's fine," she'd laughed. "She doesn't need anything. She's used to being alone." Everyone had smiled. I had too. That smile had cost me more than money. It had cost me years. I stepped outside into the cold night air and finally let myself feel it. Not rage, not tears, but clarity. The kind that comes when denial burns away. They hadn't forgotten me at the airport. They had chosen me. And choice has consequences. My phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't a bank alert. It was a message notification. Family group chat. My sister had typed, "We landed. Wow. First class must be nice, huh?" I slipped my phone back into my coat pocket, already knowing what would happen next. Because the real turbulence was still ahead. The humiliation didn't wait until they got home. It happened before they even left the airport. My sister posted a photo, rows of seats, champagne cups raised, my parents smiling like proud tourists. The caption was light, almost playful. "Family trip airplane, everyone exactly where they belong." She tagged me. Within minutes, comments rolled in. Friends. Distant relatives. People who knew, who thought they knew, our family dynamic. Little laughing emojis. A few looks fun, replies. One comment stung more than the rest. Guess not everyone made the cut, face with tears of joy. I stared at the screen, heat rising up my neck, heart pounding so loud I could hear it. That was the moment something inside me finally snapped. Not loudly, not dramatically, but cleanly, like a wire being cut. I didn't respond. I didn't defend myself. I didn't explain. Instead, I opened a different app. The one they'd never asked about. The one tied to accounts they assumed would always stay open, always stay generous. I confirmed the final step with my fingerprint. Across the ocean, my sister's phone buzzed again. This time, the smile in her photo wouldn't survive what she was about to read. Pain doesn't always scream. Sometimes it sits beside you, opens a notebook, and starts doing the math. I spent that night alone in a hotel room overlooking the runway, watching planes lift off and land like nothing in the world had changed. I replayed the years in my head, every transfer, every just this once, every time I'd said it's fine when it wasn't. By morning, the hurt had cooled into something sharper. I didn't want chaos. I didn't want to yell or expose screenshots or write a dramatic post. That would give them a story where I was emotional and they were misunderstood. So I chose structure. I listed everything I covered. My parents' monthly shortfalls, my sister's temporary credit card, the family phone plan, the storage unit I paid for because no one else could right now. All of it legal. All of it voluntary. Which meant all of it was reversible. I scheduled the changes to roll out slowly. No sudden collapse. Just enough delay to confuse them. Enough time for panic to grow. As I checked out, my phone buzzed again. A message from my mother this time. "Claire, did you change something?" I smiled, slid my phone into my bag, and walked toward the exit, already counting down to when they'd understand. It started with small things. My sister texted first. "Hey, my card's acting weird. Did you pay the phone bill yet?" I didn't answer. An hour later, my father called. His voice was tight, polite in that way that meant he was already worried. "The storage place says our unit's access is restricted. Is that temporary?" Temporary. Everything had always been temporary when it was my responsibility. I walked through the city, letting the cold air keep me steady while notifications stacked up. One account after another, each adjustment landing right on schedule. Not dramatic, just undeniable. By evening, the family group chat exploded. "Why is the internet down?" "The pharmacy says the account changed." "Claire, this isn't funny." That last message came from my sister again, sharp and accusing, like I'd broken a rule she'd never bothered to explain. I finally replied. "Nothing's broken," I wrote. "It's just New Year's." Silence followed. Then a single message from my mother. "Please call us." I stopped walking, standing beneath a streetlight as snow began to fall. My reflection stared back at me from a dark shop window, calm, composed, unrecognizable. I knew the next call wouldn't be polite. It would be desperate. The call came just after midnight. My sister this time. No sarcasm, no edge. Her voice cracked before she even said my name. "Claire, we need to talk. Everything's falling apart." I leaned back on the bed and let her talk herself into the truth. Bills bouncing. Accounts glitching. Parents asking questions she couldn't answer. For the first time in her life, there was no buffer between her and consequence. "You embarrassed me," she finally said, softer now. "At the airport. Online. You could have handled this privately." I almost laughed. "Privately?" I repeated. "Like the seat reassignment? Like the post?" Silence. Then my father took the phone. His tone was heavy, controlled. "You've made your point. Let's reset. You don't need to punish us." Punish. That word told me everything. "I didn't punish anyone," I said evenly. "I just stopped participating." The line went quiet. Somewhere in the background, I heard my mother crying. I ended the call gently, knowing the hardest part wasn't over yet. Because they still didn't understand the final change I'd made. They found out 3 days later. Not from me, but from an email marked completed, sent automatically, professionally, without emotion. The final account that connected us had transferred ownership weeks earlier, waiting for one condition to be met: my absence. My sister called again, but I didn't answer. My parents left a voicemail this time, softer than I'd ever heard them. Apologies layered with fear, regret mixed with calculation. I let it sit unread. What surprised me wasn't their collapse. It was the quiet that followed. No more alerts. No more demands. Just space. On New Year's morning, I sat by my window watching the city wake up, coffee warming my hands. For the first time, I wasn't waiting to be included, invited, or forgiven. I already knew where I stood. Not behind them in a boarding line. Not tagged in a joke. Not paying for a place I was never meant to sit. I stood exactly where I chose to be. And that, more than revenge, more than justice, was the change I'd promised. Because when you finally leave the gate, you don't look back. And neither did I.